I'm Adam Jones with Firefly MSP, and today I want to talk about our service. Service to us is made up of multiple components. Obviously, it's the core of our business, our service business. But to us, it involves a level of empathy, it involves a focus on response time, and it involves high quality interactions at every turn. And so I'll take those in order. The first is a level of empathy. At Firefly, if you submit a case to us, we're going to look at that through the prism of how is this impacting you and what kind of response do you need to be able to run your business. It's a level of understanding that, frankly, we don't often come across when we take over for other clients or other competitors, It's often something that's mentioned during the first few months of service with a new client is, man, I actually feel important to you guys. And that is honestly great feedback because that's exactly how we want you to feel. It seems like a no-brainer to me that that's a core of any good service business. And so it's kind of baked into our DNA at Firefly. The second, and almost equally important, is good response time. So whether an issue is an emergency, in which case we would respond in like a half hour or less, or just a regular issue in which we strive to respond in 2 hours or less, we try to meet or exceed your expectation for response every time that we possibly can. When response times begin to slip, that's a key indicator to us internally that it's time to look inside, make sure that there's not anywhere where our processes are breaking down or that we're not getting efficiencies out of the employees that we have to date. If neither of those seem to be the case, then we know that it's time to start looking to hire. It's been interesting over the past few years because we repeatedly reached the point where the conclusion is it's time to hire. And so we've grown quickly. As with that growth since day one, when I go to hire an employee at Firefly, my team and I are evaluating first and foremost on personality and customer service skills. While a natural propensity towards technical capability is obviously required, the chief qualifier for someone is going to be, can they have a good conversation? Can they put people at ease? Do they seem like they can employ empathy and understanding and buck that trend of the sort of aloof IT guy? If the answer to all those is yes, and we also then believe that the technical skills are either already there or can be brought along, that's an ideal candidate for Firefly. There have been a few times in our history where we didn't fully follow this model and we regretted it every time, and we had to make the changes to address that. And so it's now a core component of how we look for new employees, how we hire them, and then how we retain them. It's also, following these guidelines and receiving high quality client feedback is part of the way that you can advance at Firefly. I mentioned earlier that we have SLAs, 30 minutes for an emergent issue or less, or 2 hours for everything else. Along with those, communication's key no matter how quickly you respond and solve. So in cases where we are busy and emergency issues never really don't meet their SLAs, it's just not an option for us. It's too important for us to meet those expectations. But if there's a non-emergent issue and the response time slips past 2 hours, the other thing that we found a great deal of success is just communicating that. Sometimes you'll have unexpected absences during the day and things just get really busy. But if we continue to communicate, we make sure we understand the request and whether or not it's an emergency, then there's times where you can give yourself more time and still maintain that high quality service. I think the biggest thing that stands out, and I've said this now on this video a couple times, is when we take over for a client, there's almost never a situation in which they're just not simply surprised. We don't leave a lot of tickets sitting open needlessly. We don't. There's never a period of time in which something should have happened in a few days and it takes a few weeks. Some of these things that end up driving people into our arms, we work tirelessly to avoid them. One of the other advancements we've made over the last year is elevating Patrick to be our Chief Operations Officer, and a big part of his job every day, honestly, the key part of his job every day is to make sure that we're delivering at or above these guidelines. The final piece, something that we're working to build into our new help desk that we had on our old help desk, is asking for real-time client feedback. Until October of last year, we had that built in. Again, we're building it again. But at that time, we had 99.9% high-quality feedback on every single ticket we solve. So that's a little look behind the curtain at Firefly and how we provide service. I'd welcome any questions that you have, and I'd also like to hear about how your company has made steps, taken strides to provide high quality service yourself.